known about public justice for most of my career, and I've always thought that the organization does fantastic work. Primarily, I felt that it was time for me to give back a little bit, and I see it as more of a service type role, which I enjoy a lot.
Well, we're people who care about other people and about the other people who we're working with, but trial lawyers are people who represent average Americans, average human beings, and trying to make lives better for all of those people. And the other thing about trial lawyers is that ultimately we need to take complicated concepts and issues and explain them to juries, to people who aren't lawyers, who didn't have lots of education. And so part of that is empathy and being able to explain and convince others of wrongs that have been done to your clients and to groups. I do class action law. So to take complicated, and I do antitrust cases, and we need to take complicated economic concepts and explain them so people can understand them and be empathetic with your clients about what's been wrong and done wrong to them. And so I think that kind of empathy creates community among the other people who are doing that and the people that we work for. I think it's an incredible organization, and it's really incredible how it's grown under the incredible leadership that we've had, including Paul and others who run the organization. I think it's also building on its roots. There are founders of this organization that are still involved decades later, and that's a testament to the organization. And we're building upon those roots and the things that those people have created, and going further and into the future and helping more people in different ways. I think it's going to continue developing and expanding and adapting and being opportunistic about things that we can do to help the constituencies that the organization supports. I think there's going to be a big push for racial justice and gender justice and DEI issues, both on the board and as a lens for the kinds of cases that we take on and the communities that we help. And so I think it's going to develop in that way while continuing with the core issues that the organization has always been about making justice and the courts available for everyone, and then proving that in some specific ways with regard to food and food justice and debtors' rights and environmental issues and civil rights for students in particular and for others. So I think we're going to develop those areas and add a racial justice and gender justice lens to those areas.
One of the things in discussing with my fellow board members, what they realize is that this is a journey, and it's not something that you can snap your fingers on and it's over. Because as we indicated earlier, in terms of implicit biases, they're so baked in, they're so embedded into our culture and our thought processes that people act on them reflexively without even thinking. That's what's so dangerous. What we understood on the DEI committee was that the reason there was a need for our own consultant, because people were at different stages of understanding of implicit bias and its history. And most of it's not known, because most of it's not taught in this country at all. It's not even talked about. So if it's not taught, then people come to conclusions that just can be dangerous, as we have seen, by those who wish to push them in dangerous directions. And so the board, they undertook this process very seriously. The board members working on it, and they began working. And many had different viewpoints and perspectives. But what I like to think is they came to the subject in good faith. And when people come to it in good faith, well, you have to deal with the fact that they don't have that lived experience. They may not have that learned experience. And so we have to take the time and patiently walk through the aspects of it. And most people of good faith will come to an understanding that, guess what, they need to learn more and they need to do more to try to overcome implicit biases.
Palm Springs Mayor Lisa Middleton.
As mayor, I get to welcome a number of individuals coming to our community, but I can't tell you what an honor it is to welcome you. The work that you do each and every day, defending those who need an attorney, someone who will represent them, someone who will stand up to the bullies, be they individuals, politicians, corporate leaders, or anyone else who stands in the way of equality and justice for everyone.
There is no other organization that shares as many core values with regards to protection of our clients and victims of consumer wrong than Public Justice and AAJ. And so I am really excited and I'm really happy when we are able to share events like tonight along with our Minority Caucus and LGBT caucuses. And so because access to justice is a core value that we both have, I implore each and every one of you to continue your support of AAJ as well as public justice, as keeping the courthouse doors open is something that we all have to do, must do, if we want to continue our democracy.
The LGBT caucus is open to everybody. It is open to obviously self-identified LGBTQ people, but also everybody who identifies as an ally. And in my opinion, if you are here and you are looking at me speak, you are an ally.
Public justice, they do the type of work that, you know, we all went to law school for. They're doing very good, very important work, and they really need our support.
You crying? Is there something you want to say?
Yuri Moore was a black man. He was a father. He liked to sing. We have that in common. And he was arrested for disturbing the peace. It's a misdemeanor in Louisiana, where he was from. And he was taken to a for-profit detention center. 24 hours later, he was declared brain dead. And the facts that emerged after this happened were pretty alarming. There's video footage showing that he was taken into the cell of an inmate who had a reputation for violence. They had an altercation. A few minutes after that, the guards went into his cell, punched him in the back of the head, forcibly removed him from the cell, dropped him twice on the floor of the detention center. And then everything shifts off camera because they took him to a room that doesn't have any cameras in the prison, where they beat him half to death. They never gave him medical treatment, and he only finally was discovered later when he was taken to the hospital to be bleeding from the head and unresponsive. His family brought a lawsuit against the private prison company and its management company, LaSalle Management. They were represented by a righteous solo practitioner from Louisiana who did a great job, but the district court dismissed the case out of hand, basically rubber stamped all the arguments that the company made. We found out about the case because my colleague was doing research for Debtor's Prison Project, and he said, wait a minute, this court just basically dismissed this case, and among other things, they held that corporations are categorically immune from punitive damages in civil rights lawsuits. We think we finally have a chance to get justice for Yuri Moore and his family. So that's just one of the civil rights cases we're working on. In the Debtor's Prison Project, which I run, we're fighting for-profit probation in Alabama, where a private company collects court debt for the city and charges monthly fees to probationers, and if the probationers are too poor to pay, these are for traffic tickets, so municipal court. These are very, very poor people. And if they can't afford to pay, the company revokes their probation and they get sent to jail. So that's just one of the things we're fighting in the Debtor's Prison Project.
We had a great presentation by Anton Gunn yesterday, The 6 Traits of Inclusive Leaders. It was a fabulous talk, that it was at the DEIA committee meeting. It really helped us explore a lot of the implicit biases we had. Anton recommended that everyone take this Harvard implicit bias test. Even though we'll continue to do high impact litigation, we realize that so many of the problems that we face are grounded still in racism and sexism, that we need to be cognizant of that. We need to overcome our implicit biases so that we engage in cases that will help address those issues. If you want to help change the world, support public justice.